Hi, folks. John Hecker here again, the pro at Brookley Country Club in Rochester, New York. Today I'm going to talk about a couple things that tour players do when they're hitting irons that will definitely maybe answer some of the questions that you're having, that you hear people comment when you're playing golf, and things that you know that if you did in your golf swing, that they are acceptable. And I picked two different guys here. I picked on the left Nick Watney because he's 6'2", and then Francisco Molinari on the right because he's 5'9", and I thought it would be kind of fun to see what their swings have in common and maybe if there's anything different. Right at address, it may be a little bit of the camera angle, but it looks like Nick Watney might have a little bit more weight on his front foot, might be trying to hit down on the ball a little bit more. Other than that, you see the balls in the middle of their stance, which is always a good idea for any kind of divot-taking iron. Bad idea for a driver, but good idea, as I said, for a divot taking iron. So I put boxes around their heads, and I thought the first thing we'd look at is, hey, do the players' heads move in their swing? So a lot of people think your heads should stay perfectly still. Clearly, Nick Watney's moving his head to the right. He even moves a little bit out of, as I said, the box. And let's see what Francisco does, and he does the same thing. So there is clearly a little move to the right. People might say that's a pivot. I would tend to agree. It looks like that's what's going on there. The little motion to the right. Is it a lot? No, maybe a couple inches. But, it definitely is some movement to the right. One of the things I often hear is you got to keep your left arm straight. I think as you looked at this, I think you could make the case that, yeah, their left arms, they don't look rigid, which would stop your wrist from being able to hinge, but they certainly look like they're fairly straight. So that's probably good advice in the sense that you create some width to your swing. Obviously, as I said, if there was a lot of tension there, probably not such a good idea. The thing that I would show you that's a good idea you can pick up right here is to turn your left shoulder under your chin. So for a right-handed golfer, that is good advice. You can see that both players do that. Now let's watch as they come back into the ball if their heads move back. And sure enough, it looks like Nick actually moves a little bit in front of where he started. That would produce more of a downward hit into the ball. So, maybe he's working on that. Maybe that's his style of iron play, is to hit down more on the ball. But clearly his head has worked back and, as I said, maybe a little bit in front. Be a horrible thing to try to do with your driver, but for an iron, having your head back where it was or even a little in front of it. Now, Francisco looks like his head just comes back to the spot it started, which would produce a little more of a neutral ball flight or ball hitting down on a shallower divot. The last thing I'd like to point out is as soon as they hit the ball, their heads start to move forward, and their head actually ends up to the left of where it started, and that would always be good advice. It's one of the reasons why you'll see people finish up on their right toe. So we've gone over some things that would be good advice for you and some things to maybe keep in mind. So the head does move a little bit throughout the swing. There's definitely movement there. The left arm stays relatively straight in the backswing. Obviously, that ends when you come into the hitting area. That your left shoulder does turn under your chin, and that your weight does shift forward, and your head will be forward of where it started. So a couple of those ideas hopefully will help you when you're practicing knowing what's right, and maybe some advice. The keeping the head perfectly still advice maybe is something you want to stay away from. So anyway, give those a try out on the course, and we'll hope to see you out playing soon.